Yo, it's the Illest Podcast. I'm your host, Pierre, as always, and I'd been getting pressure to do a podcast, and I said, let me get in here and do something. So I'm going to come out more often and try to meet the needs of people who are hungry for, I don't know, insightful conversation or whatever. But today I'm going to talk about something that I don't know how insightful it'll be, but I'm going to talk about LeBron James again. So fanboys and girls, you may want to bail. But actually, I'll say this. I'm going to defend him in some ways because I think he's currently getting a bit of unfairness thrown his way. But so I'll start. Let me take you back to last year at some point, maybe before the season started. There was this this ex-MMA fighter. I think he's still involved with MMA in some way. I think he works for ESPN and he's like their MMA analyst or whatever. He was on a podcast and he came out in open airways and basically said, no, it wasn't basic. It was pretty overt. He said LeBron James is on something. He and LeBron have the same drug guy. And the host stopped him as he tried to go on and had him reiterate this, and he did. So you would think, and I know a lot of you don't know about this, and that's what's crazy. If this was anybody else who is somewhat famous, you would have heard about it. But the fact that it's one of the most famous people probably in the world and you don't know about it, that's the tale right there. Because I go back to last year, and I think there was one mention that I can recall, and it was Stephen A. Smith and Molly Karam on First Take. They mentioned very little, and that was it. Nobody else I can ever remember. Yeah, maybe Skip and Shannon Sharp said something, but it was brief, and it was just one day. That's it. The only people I heard talking about this was YouTube, the YouTubers out there. So, at any rate, someone accused LeBron James of being juiced. He's on gear, you know? The fact that nobody is saying anything about this, it just kind of should show you the power Clutch Sports and LeBron James has. Clutch Sports is ran by his manager or agent, whatever Rich Paul is. But Clutch Sports, and they're very much in bed with the NBA. You can look this up and find out. But it's a lot of power because there are things you can go try to search on Google for LeBron James and you won't find them. They have this stuff scrubbed very, very quickly. And, I'm not saying that this is something that's wrong, but I just feel like it's I don't like to see other people get scrutiny for every little thing as well, and they have to deal with it. And LeBron is just disintegrated, and nobody can really talk about it. They have like these unspoken gag orders in media. And it's just wild because nothing's really hidden anymore with the internet. But it's just wild. You don't hear anything about this. And so fast forward to now, everyone has a podcast now. And Kevin Garnett, the great power forward who played for Minnesota and won the championship with the Boston Celtics, he has a podcast with he and Paul Pierce, his teammate. And they were talking about LeBron James's son, Bronny, and if he could get a bucket, also known as scoring, on his dad. And Paul Pierce was like, of course, he can get a bucket. He can get one. Kevin Garnett was just like, no way, man. He could never do it, blah, 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 blah. So as they kept sparring back and forth, Kevin Garnett just comes out of the mouth again in open airways and just says, LeBron is on that balco. And everybody who knows anything about sports know what Balco is. It's what is it? The Bay Area. I don't know what the Y stands for, but it's a lab or whatever. And it was connected with PEDs, steroid use, and things like that. Back when I think Alex Rodriguez was implicated, Barry Bonds, Marion Jones, and others. And I think that may be where the government intervention came in when they had Rafael Palmeiro on there. Sammy Sosa act like he couldn't speak English no more, had a translator with him. And Mark McGuire was there as well. But so Kevin Garnett said this. And then I found out later that this wasn't even the first time that Kevin Garnett had said this. He had said this 2 other times, again, on YouTube. And it's like, okay, I'll tell you flat out, everyone knows I don't like LeBron James. And I don't like him, and I'll reiterate why. I don't like him for the competitive diminishing he's brought to sports. That's why I don't like him. That doesn't have anything to do with who he is, because here's a newsflash for all y'all who love him. Y'all don't know him. So, simmer down with that. I don't think he's been great for the games. Now, some people would argue, oh, he's helped the players do this and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Well, okay. Yeah, he has I can't even say empowered, because it's nonsense. He's given them more leniency to be babies, to whine and quit themselves out of a team. Whereas you've never seen anything like this before. Guys quitting on the court. James Harden quitting on the court. Just going to all these teams, just they can't get on the team they want. They can't do this, and they pout on social media, or they pout on the court, and they just quit. And the team is forced to do something because they could see that they're not going to win the games they should with this guy playing. So they wind up giving them what they want and acquiescing to what they want. So you look at that, and you look at what he's brought to it, and I don't respect that. Now, I don't know if that's what he was intentionally trying to do, because he did make a paradigm shift. But it started when he went to Miami, and from then on. And so everybody's been trying to make their own blueprint, if you will, of LeBron's path for his career. But again, for me, it diminishes competition. It has diminished competition, and I see it happen even outside of basketball. It started to happen somewhat in football as well. Guys just crying and just trying to get out of contracts and legal responsibilities. And I don't dig that, because there's nowhere else. I don't even see how average people can root for these guys, because it's like, dude, they get treatment that we would never get. They already have it cushy. And you mean to tell me you're trying to make me feel sorry for somebody who's making $100 million? In no way, shape, or form am I doing that. Somebody's 24 years old making $100 million. There's nothing about that we should feel sorry for. So what? They can't control what team they go to. They still get that money. So what? I don't understand how that is something that a player should control. That's not how it's set up. You don't get a job and come in and just try to change things. No. And they shouldn't get that either, because ultimately at the end of the day, just because they're on TV and they're worshipped, it doesn't change the fact that they're still employees. They're employees. So the business is the business. A lot of these guys know that, and they still sign on the dotted line. Well, hey, if you don't want to do interviews after a game, then you better not sign on the dotted line, because it's part of your job. It's part of your job. So that's what I think people need to think about sometimes. Like, they don't get the same, they don't have the same responsibilities in some ways, and they get much more leniency and, of course, money. So I don't have any problem with an owner saying, okay, I want to trade him and he has to go. I mean, you've been financially cared for in a great way. So I understand moving from city to city is something, but I mean, I feel like any player who comes in the NBA, because you hear people say this all the time, oh, they get paid too much, they get paid too much. Well, if that's the case, then they have been compensated for that being a part of their job. They've been compensated. So I'm all for, look, if you sign on the dotted line, honor your contract. Stop being a jerk and just trying to get out of your contract and threatening to quit or threatening to do this or that because you want to go to another team, or you want an extension before your contract's over because you feel like you've played your contract. That is not how it works. But everybody wants to do this now, and a lot of this has to do with LeBron, and it is. I heard someone call it the era of entitlement. Yeah, not empowerment, entitlement, because that's what I see. I see a whole lot of young people who feel like they're owed something, and that part I don't get. You know, again, TV's, commercials, and all that. It doesn't make you exempt from being what you ultimately are. You're high profile employee. Say less. All right. So LeBron James, I don't like him for that reason, the diminishing of competitive spirit. But I'm hearing so much now about this possible performance enhancing scandal. So I'm hearing that on YouTube, not from the major media markets, but just from YouTube. And I'm hearing it every day, but I'm hearing some guys just take it too far. Like, for instance, I still can't necessarily believe that he is on steroids or whatever. Or I think people have it twisted as well, because they did think that steroids is the only way that, you know, people get performance enhanced. It isn't, because there are things like blood doping, EPO, stuff like that it is even as beneficial or more beneficial than steroids would be, because EPO and doping can allow you higher endurance and help with things like recovery. So not necessarily give you muscles and make you big, because that's what people think. They expect, oh, but he ain't even that big. It doesn't matter. Lance Armstrong, if you remember, he was never that big, but he was doping. It gives you more oxygen-rich blood. And if you have more at your disposal, you have a higher capacity for oxygen, which wards off fatigue and VO2 max or whatever, that stuff from biomechanics. Anyway, I am hearing how, oh, he has to be on something because he's in his 21st year and all this. And I'm like, yeah, okay. He is old. He's 39 now. Turned 39 in December, I believe. He is old, but let's not get it twisted, man. I think if there's one person who could buck time for a spell, I feel like it might be LeBron James. I feel like it could be him. Now people are still out here saying that, oh, he's playing as good as he did when he was this age and when he was in Miami, and I think that's nonsense. Those people need to knock it off. If you watch a game, you can see the differences in him. You can see him resting on the court. He doesn't play defense much at all. And that's where he gets his rest. He just kind of tries to make it look a certain way, But I mean, it's 2024. You can't escape them cameras. People are gonna chop up stuff and expose you any kind of way they can. So he isn't exempt from being seen in that regard. Hold up, had to take a drink. Okay, so he rests on the court, and that's you didn't. You saw LeBron used to be on all defensive teams, first and second teams. He doesn't get on those lists anymore because his defensive capacity has diminished. So I do see aging in him. I do see things that are different. The scoring and all that stuff, people start talking about stats immediately, and that's kind of where they go off the rails, I feel like, because all stats do not tell all of the story, because the NBA is different 20, 21 years later from when LeBron started. There's much more analytics involved. There are some rule changes involved. And if you watch any NBA game, you will see the spacing is crazy open. It opens the lane up and allows for whoever the primary ball handler to drive the lane, and when guys collapse, to kick out to the open man. And that's pretty much what every team does. And it's really boring. No one has their own identity anymore. But that's what LeBron James excels at. So if he gets to the lane, it's easy for him to get layups at times. But that doesn't mean he's still playing at the same level that he was in his younger days, because he's not. The game is just a little bit easier now, and it looks like that, and his stats still look similar. But if you look closer, they are down. His stats are down from his averages. They're down a little bit from his averages, but I do think his age has shown. Somebody was talking to me about how he jumps and all this now. I was like, yeah, but I don't see the same. I don't see exactly the same thing as I saw when he was younger. I don't. I see a guy who is still good at what he does, but I don't think he's nearly as good as people are trying to make him out to be. If the NBA right now was a more physical game, I think LeBron would be struggling. I think he would be maybe averaging like 20 points a game, 19 points a game or something like that. Because, I mean, when he gets to the lane and one guy collapses or whatever, he's just got to go over one guy. And most of those guys, he'll wind up being bigger than him. So he has the advantage. So that's how they put things in his favor, which I'm fine with. I'm just saying I think that it is possible that LeBron James is one of the rare athletes who is, pushed Father Time down a little bit, pushed him away for a little bit. It's not going to last forever, of course, but it's just a little bit. And do I think he's capable of doing the things that he's doing now at 38? I do. Hell, Michael Jordan at 39, 40 was playing well. He wasn't playing the same though. You could see the fatigue, and you could see the diminishing in skills, but he still was bad. He still was bad, and I'm talking bad meaning good. He still was a bad boy out there. I mean, he dropped 50 when he at 40 years old, 39 years old, 30 here, 30 there, 50, 40. I mean, he was doing that. So it's quite possible. And I don't think anyone was ever talking about Michael Jordan juicing. So, and there weren't things out at that time either that were available to him. But, nobody ever said anything like that. So I just think that LeBron James is he's the rare athlete who could do this. And he's not even 40 yet. He has another year before he hits 40. So I think it's possible this man could be pulling this off. So I think some of these YouTubers need to back off. And if you're going to criticize LeBron, criticize him for things that are valid. Criticize him for factual stuff. Too many guys are in their feelings about him because they can't stand him. I can't stand him either, but I'm not gonna ever diss him because of something I feel. Facts over emotions all day, every day. And that's how it goes. And the facts are, he's run from the grind. He is run from smoke. And that's what the fans, the people who matter most in all this, have been deprived, because we're the ones who ultimately pay for these people's salaries. That's it. I'm gone. Holla at me later. Peace.